Good afternoon and welcome to today's Facebook Live. My name is Christy and today we are diving into our LEPS 590 discussion board MVP interview. Thank you all so much for joining us today, whether you are here with us live or watching the replay. Please go ahead and utilize that chat feature, say hello, let us know you're here. With that, I'll go ahead and kick it over to our academic director, Dr. Erik Fritsvold.
Well, Christy, thanks very much. And to the law enforcement and public safety leadership community out there, thanks for joining us here to celebrate the Discussion Board Most Valuable Player, a peer-driven award for our summer 2020 LEPS 590 Budget and Finance for Law Enforcement Leaders course. I'll provide a bit of context before we explicitly introduce our winner here. As you know, the mission of our program is somewhat non-traditional. It's academic at its core, but the fundamental goal is to nurture immediately applicable applied skills. And arguably, this is particularly challenging, but also particularly important for budget. So I want to start by giving some credit to Professor Brian Goldberg, who built a cutting-edge skills-centric budget and finance course for law enforcement leaders. It doesn't teach the accounting of budgets. That might be disproportionately managed by professional staff, but rather it asks students like our MVP, who we'll talk about it here momentarily, to nurture some budget fluency, learn budget models, but more importantly, connect budgets with the mission of your agency. Connect budget with key stakeholder engagement, both internal and external to your organization. And to put notions of transparency and accountability and good rationale and good evidence in the forefront when you're creating a budget. And the course culminates in a final project where students are asked to create an actual budget using real-world law enforcement budget data, make some tough budgetary choices guided by the priorities of key municipal stakeholders. And not only to make the tough choices, but again, in the current climate of increased accountability and transparency, providing a good, sound, evidence-driven rationale for those choices. So that's a long way of saying the discussion boards here are particularly important, that students come together across jurisdiction and across job description to share best practices, to talk about budget do's and don'ts, and really to boldly advance this mission that Professor Goldberg created, and then students like our MVP advance quite notably. So with that as the backstory, please join me with a hearty congratulations for our Budget and Finance 2020 Discussion Board MVP, voted on by his peers, John Enriquez. John, big, huge congratulations, and thanks for joining us here.
Thank you for having me, Erik.
So a bit of background on John. He brings 14 years of experience to the program. He serves as a corporal for the University of California at Riverside Police Department. In his wide-ranging career, he's served in patrol and investigations as a range master and an FTO, part of the special response team, and also what I understand to be essentially a problem-oriented policing or community policing team. He's ran I would describe it as the uber daunting Baker to Vegas run. And among these notable accomplishments has been a proud alumnus of our program for several days. He actually earned the MVP in his last course during his last semester as he proudly graduated from our program. So John, huge congratulations, and I'm going to dive right in here. You were seemingly the first person on the discussion board in every module and every class I ever looked at in your academic career. Do you mind talking us through your engagement strategy and vigor, please?
Not a problem, Erik. So one of the things I always heard was post early and often, and I know it's kind of cliche, but it really is true. The whole point of the discussion boards really is to mimic that classroom feel, to engage with your cohort and your peers, learn from your professor. You know, you have your paper every week, and that's obviously more your empirically driven, evidence-based research, and it's very focused, you know, whether it's 2 pages or 10. I mean, you're just very focused on what you're trying to prove or argue, whereas with the discussion boards, it's a lot more open. So on that first initial post, I would try and directly answer the question from the material, be evidence-based, empirically driven, and then my follow-up posts would be a lot more off the cuff, just honestly just talking to my to my peers and learning from them, and they learn from me. And to me, that was the whole neat part of the discussion board, is once you kind of get that, I'd call it the heavy lifting, really that first initial post on the board, then the conversation really, I mean, yeah, it could be, you know, obviously budgeting and finance for this, but I mean, it could go to any wide ranging topics from there. So it's really so open-ended, and it was on the discussion boards that obviously you get to meet your peers, and they're from all over the country and different regions and different viewpoints. And to me, that was what made the program so interesting. And I'd almost call it that humanizing effect, you know, instead of just being a name that you just kind of see. I mean, you actually get to interact with, you know, your fellow officers from all over the country.
I really appreciate it. And I've said many times, we do our due diligence, and, you know, our team really grinds out the long hours to put forward the best curriculum we can. But the heartbeat of the program are those discussion boards and students like yourself who bring so much insight and a wealth of experience. So speaking of building community, another thing we're working on in the LEPSL program are those live video conference office hours. So just another touch point to have you put a face with the Blackboard icon, and in this case, have a real live conversation with your professor and classmates. I know you've taken advantage of the live office hours. Can you talk us through a bit of your experience there, please?
Absolutely. I would say I attended pretty much most of them. I missed maybe one or two here or there. That's the beauty of LEPSL. I mean, it's so open as far as the schedule. I mean, it's week by week, and sometimes you do your work at midnight and other times you do it at noon. So it's just so all over the place. So all the live office hours I could make, I definitely made. And I think going along with the discussion boards, like you said, that's the face with the name, kind of that humanizing. You get to actually interact with your professor, maybe ask some questions and get those tips for your paper, for the whole course. Just it really humanizes both sides. So now it's not just, oh, I see this guy or this gal, I see their paper, and yeah, they do a good job, but I really don't interact with them at all. To me, I mean, that's almost what could make the difference between maybe that B or that A. If you're right on the fence, it's like, well, okay, they attended office hours, they asked some engaging questions. Okay, I kind of know where they're going with this. You know, it's almost, let me give benefit of the doubt, and it moves you up to that A range as opposed to maybe a B range. So yeah, I attended, I would say a good 4 or 5, and they were all worth it. I learned something from all of them. Like I said, I got to actually meet my cohorts even more and my professors, and it's well worth the investment if you're able to make those office hours, even if it's just one a course. It's well worth the investment in that hour. I mean, they normally ran about an hour, and if you can only make 20 minutes, that's okay too. I mean, just showing your face and maybe asking that pressing question. I know this last course, when you had, I think you had 2 office hours, I was able to make one of them. I think the hang up for me was that final project I was a little worried about. I see 8 to 10 pages, create your own budget on a fictionary, you know, law enforcement agency, tough budgetary decisions. Wow, this is pretty encompassing. So I just wanted to, you know, touch base with you and just kind of get your take on what you were looking for in that. And I think that personally, I feel like that's what pushed me between that B or that A, because I actually got to speak with you about it and kind of get your take on what you're looking for.
I appreciate that. And the reciprocal dynamic of that, live office hours are so beneficial for us on the faculty side, because we can ask some direct questions about curriculum that's, you know, a course or 2 out. As you know, we pride ourselves in trying to keep the curriculum cutting edge and really taking a direct engagement with the issues facing the current law enforcement climate. And so it's also an opportunity for me, assuming we've answered all the course questions and, you know, done the heavy lifting of the office hours, it's also an opportunity for me to get direct input from students about how we should frame and engage the issues facing your profession. So I think they're truly mutually beneficial and sometimes a heck of a lot of fun. I believe you and I were in the office hour. One of our colleagues had us on a mobile device in his patrol car, which was a first for me, a virtual ride along.
Yep. I've been there before. It wasn't with you, but I have absolutely been there before. I mean, you just got that extra 5-10 minutes between calls, and it's just, you pull into a parking lot, you dial into Zoom, and there you are. I mean, yes, I absolutely know that feeling.
So transitioning us a little bit here, John, I have the unfair advantage of having had the pleasure of working together with you in a class. So I have to ask, I feel compelled to ask. You and your wife have been heavily involved with a local philanthropic endeavor for some time called Riverside Rovers. And it's through the Mary S. Roberts Pet Adoption Center. And it just sounds super interesting. Do you mind talking our viewers through the Riverside Rovers program a bit?
Not a problem. So originally, I started doing that program a couple years ago. We took 1 or 2 dogs out, but just kind of life happens, and I would say about this time last year we started getting involved with the program again. So it's called the Riverside Rovers, and essentially you take a dog out for the day. They're all rescue dogs and available for adoption at Mary S. Roberts Pet Adoption Center in Riverside. They're a nonprofit. They're a non-kill shelter, which is probably the only way I actually can do it, to be honest. I could not take these dogs out if I knew I was taking them back to possibly a horrible fate. I would own them all. They're all wonderful dogs. So honestly, it's more beneficial to me than the dogs. I mean, they are having the time of their lives. Me and my wife check them out around 10 o'clock, and we've gone to the beach, we've gone to the mall, we go to the park, they go to Dairy Queen, they go to Starbucks for a puppuccino. We just kind of get them out there and socialize them, and the whole point is to get them out of their kennel for the day. Their personalities really change. I mean, if I was a dog and I had to be in a shelter, this is the shelter to be at. I mean, it's clean, it's nice, it's well run, but yet it still is a shelter. So with that in mind, the whole point is to get them out, really see what their personalities are like, how they interact with us, how they interact with other dogs, children, adults, young, old. And from that, we take their photo throughout the day and we send it back to Mary S. Roberts and basically give them an update. Hey, this dog really doesn't like small dogs. It's fine with big dogs. It's great with children. It loves to play ball. Oh, this dog's just more relaxed. Really kind of get them out there and exposed to people and social, that socialization, and just kind of see how they are. And it really helps them with their adoptions, makes them more adoptable. The same with their online profile. My wife is an excellent photographer. She just makes these dogs look like $1 million. And honestly, they've all been adopted. Every single one we've taken out.
Wow, you have 100% success rate.
Yes, I'm just a small part of the equation. Honestly, Mary S. Roberts is a very well-run facility. We're just a small part of that. We send all the photos back and they just look so photogenic, and it's so much better than just having that kind of scared looking dog in a corner that's just, I'm not so sure what's going on, versus this smiling, happy dog with a toy in their mouth at the beach, at a park, on a walk. They just look so happy and friendly, and you can't help but be like, oh, I could see that dog in my family. So that's kind of what we're going for. So like I said, it really is more rewarding for us. We both love animals. If I was a millionaire, we would probably own a ranch and have as many as we could afford. Maybe in retirement, we'll see how that goes. But it's a very rewarding experience.
Oh, that's really, really good to hear. I appreciate you sharing it with folks out there. I know since learning about it through you, it's something my wife and I are considering doing ourselves here in the local San Diego area if something like that exists. So thanks for sharing that. As we kind of start to wrap up a little bit here, John, once again, congratulations on your MVP. Are there any final words that you'd like to share with our law enforcement and public safety community out there?
Absolutely. So first off, thank you to, I know I've told you before, but thank you for this program. You have definitely impacted my life for giving me the opportunity to get my master's. I had thought about it for years. I'm sure I'm in the same boat as a lot of my cohort. But to actually have a program from a top university such as University of San Diego that is so flexible, where it's kind of that week period, you know, you can get your work done at the beginning, the end, somewhere in the middle, and it's just so flexible and available. And I really, really thank you for that. I looked at quite a few other programs, and it would have been difficult with shift work and just changing schedules. I don't know if it would have been doable. I mean, honestly. So this program really made a master's degree obtainable, and I'm sure that's a story for a lot of students. So I'd like to thank you for that. Also, it hasn't gone lost on me that from your point of being academia, it's not always the most popular standpoint to be pro law enforcement. So I personally like to thank you for being so pro law enforcement and really working with us. Obviously, we're in trying times right now, and I don't see it getting any better. It's probably going to keep getting worse, to be honest. I think we all recognize that. The pendulum has definitely swung pretty hard against us. So it's through programs like that, or through LEPSL, that we really get to engage in dialogue and think of the future of what law enforcement looks like. And your program has really allowed that to happen, and we can really have an educated, intelligent discussion. I mean, it's kind of a non-starter for us. Obviously, abolish the police. I mean, that's just a non-starter. I mean, what are you going to do with that? But to actually really talk about real police reform, I mean, we got to be a part of that conversation. We have to be. I mean, and then obviously engage all the stakeholders that need to be there, but we have to be a part of that conversation because it's our lives out there on the line. So personally, I'd like to thank you for supporting us. I'd also like to, not to be cliche, but I'd like to thank my parents for supporting me through this program, my sister, my wife, my department, all my friends and family, and thank you for having me. Really, I mean, this program means a lot to me.
John, thanks for the tremendously kind words. And like you said, you're a small part of Riverside Rovers. You know, I feel like our role is pretty small in LEPSL. It's really all the folks who donated us their time in the 2.5 years of research we did in this program. That's ongoing. It's really those folks who gave us such good advice, from things like the flexibility. We originally had a much different model in mind, and I actually built a spreadsheet about what days and times would be the best times for folks in your profession to come to class. And it turns out no days and times was the answer to that question.
Yeah.
So it's an honor and a privilege to be working with you at this particular moment in time. And if we can attract students like yourself, we must be doing something right. And I find that I say that often with the wealth of experience we have in the LEPSL program. So we're so appreciative that you came to the University of San Diego. Congrats on graduating.
Thank you.
Congrats on walking out the door as a discussion board MVP. Quite the victory lap there, sir.
Thank you.
For all the law enforcement and public safety leadership folks out there in the audience, thanks for joining us. Another huge congratulations to Corporal John Enriquez, our discussion board MVP. And Christy, we'll kick it back to you here.
Great. Thank you both so much for hopping on today. And thank you all who are attending live, those of you who are watching the replay. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us. We will see you next time.